Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very honored and absolutely delighted that you join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in that mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Audible, Castbox, Player FM, Boomplay, Ghana, wherever you find your favorite shows. We have an amazing show for you today. Dr. Trude Haecker, the chairperson for Reach Out and Read, is joining us today to tell us about their brand new strategic plan. They hope to get 1 million books into the hands of 1 million kids. And later in the show, we'll be meeting Nia, the author, who wants to inspire kids to explore all that they can do. Hey, my friends, we are really excited. Reading with Your Kids podcast is returning to the Chicago Toy and Game Fair, November 9th and 10th at the Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois. Let your imagination come to life at the Chicago Toy and Game Fair, the ultimate family play experience. Dive into hands-on fun with the hottest new toys and games, meet the inventors behind your favorite products, and even get a sneak peek at what will top holiday wish lists this year. From interactive play zones to exciting competitions and exclusive giveaways, there's something for every member of the family at the Chicago Toy and Game Fair. And don't miss the Young Inventor Challenge, where kids showcase their creativity and innovation. Who knows? You just might meet the next big inventor. Join us at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois, November 9th and 10th. Whether you're a game enthusiast or just looking for a fun weekend with the family, the Chicago Toy and Game Fair has it all. And like I said, the Reading with Your Kids podcast will be there, and you may have a chance to be heard on the show. Get your tickets today and bring the magic of play to life. Visit shytag.com for details, and be sure to use the discount code READ, R-E-A-D, at checkout to save on tickets. My friends, I am very excited about this interview. We're going to be talking about Reach Out and Read, a beautiful program that I absolutely love. Marty Martinez was on the program a few months ago telling us all about it. Tonight we have Dr. Trude Haecker. She is the chairperson of the board for Reach Out and Read. She's coming to us from Philadelphia. Dr. Trude, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much.
You are the chairperson of the board. This is I'm so proud that Reach Out and Read was born in Boston.
Absolutely.
I think that's so cool. Why don't you remind, for the folks who didn't hear Marty on the show, just give us an overview of what Reach Out and Read is doing.
So Reach Out and Read is an early literacy program. It partners with pediatric clinicians and family practitioners using the pediatric well child visits to support parents and caregivers in building relationships with their young children through shared readings. As a pediatrician, I've been doing this for 28 years, and it is the most special part of my day. I go in with a book and talk about the importance of reading to that 2-month-old, that 4-month-old. For each one of the well visits, the child gets the ability to have advice about reading aloud with their young child, and also get a new book, which is amazing.
Yeah. You know, my beautiful wife taught here in the Boston Public Schools for 34 years, and I was talking to her and her best friend at the time, who was an administrator in the system, when I first launched Reading with Your Kids. And I said, I came to the realization that, I figure most people listening to the podcast, I'm preaching to the choir because they're listening to Reading with Your Kids because they love reading with their kids, and so they get it. But there are a whole lot of kids that aren't being read to. How can we get to those parents? And I think that this is probably the most effective way to get to those parents.
I couldn't agree with you more because children have to come in for their checkups. So what I do as a general pediatrician is see the children for their checkups and multiple visits throughout their early childhood. And we're talking about a lot of things, diet, safety, immunizations, all those things are so important. But with Reach Out and Read, I get to give that extra special part of the visit, which is talking about early literacy. When I walk into the room with a book and that 6-month-old is sitting on that mother's lap, and I get to open that book up to that baby's eyes light up. I get to talk about how wonderful that baby is, that that baby can see and hear. And look, she's looking at the book. She's watching me turn the pages. So I get to model the importance of reading from a very early age on. And that then changes. I get to use it as a developmental assessment tool when the child's 18 months and has a lot of stranger danger and doesn't want to talk to me. But they'll talk to me about the book, and I can see language acquisition skills, and I can watch them as they get older to see fine motor skills, as well as their ability to letter recognition, color recognition. So it becomes a developmental tool and a program where I get that extra bond with a parent. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I practiced many years before Reach Out and Read, and now many after. And the bond that I can have with a family when I introduce Reach Out and Read and the importance of reading aloud and shared reading every night with your child has made a huge difference in my relationship with parents, because we're really looking at that child's future success. I'm giving them hope for how well that child can do later.
What a beautiful thing. And I know about the bond between a physician and a patient. I've been blessed to have the same primary care doctor for over 30 years.
Amazing.
And he's great. And I can give him a call and say, hey, look, doc, this is what's going on. And great advice. And I know that he knows me. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes such a difference. And I have a lot of friends who, get a new primary every 5-6 years. And boy, there's no relationship there.
Right. And so this is what Reach Out and Read also now we started out as it being a very good idea. As you said, it started in Boston by some pediatrician colleagues of mine, and we heard about it and it was started in 89 and we started in 96 here in Philadelphia. And what I found is that people who participate in Reach Out and Read, the offices do, they actually have preliminary evidence that in fact the child's development has changed, that the language acquisition is improved by 6 months, by age 2, but they also are more bonded to their physician, and they come in for their checkups more likely, and they're more likely to stay up to date on their immunizations. Yeah. So it is this wonderful conflagration of amazing ability to change the public health of children in this country. I mean, it just has been such an amazing opportunity for me and an honor to be able to share the importance of reading. When we started the program, my boys were like 5 and 7, and we had been reading for a while. And then to get to share that with my families and have them appreciate that has been just the most important blessing of my life. And, it is my passion to have Reach Out and Read be in every child's hand. And so that's part of why our strategic plan is so important.
Yeah. I launched Reading with Your Kids solely because I wanted to share with parents, the relationship I have with my now adult kids is wonderful, and it's still very close, and we're close to their spouses. And it was built on a foundation of reading. I mean, I was that weird guy who read to my son while he was in the womb. So I've been talking about the benefits of that bonding and how important it is, but I'm just a dopey guy in a colorful shirt here. You're a doctor. Can you talk a little bit about that, why that bond is so important, and if there's any kind of scientific evidence to back it up?
Well, that's the thing that's so amazing is in my lifetime, I now have seen many scientific breakthroughs. I mean, and being a pediatrician for 40 years, I've seen so many things change in my lifetime, but Reach Out and Read as well. What started out as kind of a good idea, seemed like a great program, in fact, now has tremendous evidence base. There are more than 30 published articles on the importance of this program, and the importance of early reading and shared reading with children. And so, we talked about the speech and language and the early language development and school readiness. Language acquisition is one of the better predictors for school readiness and school success. So by reading aloud to your child, you can definitely improve all that. And we know that when we give a book to a child now, parents are much more likely to read to their child, 2.5 times at least, that they'll, a week will read more likely to their children when we give them the access to the book, because books are now expensive. They're not cheap anymore. Mm-hmm. The other thing that's so important is that that bonding, that's the thing we didn't know about. We guessed, but we didn't realize. Now we have data on the importance of that early relationship between parents and child, putting that phone down and actually engaging with that child, talking to that child, doing what's called serve and return. So that baby's babbling at you, you're babbling right back. You're showing them the pictures. The toddler that starts to point to the pictures, that's right, that's a cow. And what does the cow say? All those engagements that we do when we go into the exam room is something that parents can sort of see us do and perhaps learn some cues on how to share books with their own children on a more regular basis. But the positive effects of childhood experiences of reading, of singing, of talking, we now know can ameliorate some of those adverse childhood events. Many of your listeners may have heard about reverse childhood experiences, where tragic experiences have changed the course of people's lives. It changes the physiology of the brain, of the endocrine system, the immune system, and leads to chronic health issues. Well, it turns out that things like Reach Out and Read and that one-on-one attention that a parent, a caregiver can give to a child can actually ameliorate some of those effects that might occur. So a child who's living in inner city Philadelphia, who's living in a violent world, has difficulties with their family, actually someone reading to them every day, spending time with them, it actually can make a difference in later outcomes. And that's what's so amazing about Reach Out and Read. Yeah. The other piece I would say is that the brain is burgeoning. That first 3 years of life, the brain is just going crazy. 80% of the child's brain is formed in the first 3 years of life. 1 million neurons a second are being, created and connected. And so by using Reach Out and Read and having that book and having that way to have shared attention between a parent and a child, a caregiver and a child, we are helping that brain grow and build and be a successful, preschooler and school-age child. So the evidence is extraordinary. I never thought, if you'd asked me that 28 years ago when we started, I said, oh yes, it's very important. It's great. Worked for my own kids, but it actually makes a huge difference for the population.
It's just incredible. And one of the things that I had never, that it really hadn't occurred to me is that a lot of the inner city parents that I wanted to reach out to through my wife, a lot of the inner city parents in Philadelphia, New York, wherever, they may not have had anybody read to them, so they didn't have any model to kind of go by. Being able to see you, take the time to model that behavior and to say to a mom, you can do this. Doctors are very revered people. We trust them. We care for them. I always say that when, as parents, we take the time to sit down and read with our kids and talk to them, it's empowering, because the most important person in that baby's life puts down everything to spend time. I'm imagining the same thing is going on with parents when a doctor, this very important doctor, comes in and takes the time to sit and read with me and my kid. That must be incredibly empowering.
Oh, it is amazing. It is amazing. And to walk in with that book and to use it as a tool to engage that parent and to have that parent say, yes, you can do this. And look at how good your baby's responding to you. You're absolutely right. That parent, that caregiver is the most important person in that child's life. And to empower them by giving them a book, giving them a way, even if they can't read themselves, they can at least make up stories, the oral history traditions that we have, use the book as a launching pad to talk about colors, to talk about the animals, and also to make sure that the books are representative of the children that we serve. So that's a big initiative we're really focusing on, is to make sure that these books are mirrors, what we call mirrors and windows, so that the child can see themselves. It's only about 25% of books really cover children of color, the BIPOC population. And so we really look very hard and long to make sure that our books are appropriate, so that I walk in with a book that's appropriate for this family. And because I know them, I will hopefully be able to pick the right book for that family. And they can then see themselves. And then for other kids who haven't had exposures, it's a whole new opportunity to have them see other cultures, other languages. And we have books now in almost maybe more than 30 languages now. So that's very exciting. As our, country has changed culturally, we need to keep up with that, change in the population as well.
Absolutely. Boy, it's so exciting. I'm wondering, was it a hard sell for you when you first heard about this 28 years ago? Did you jump on board, or did they have to sell?
No, most pediatricians, you don't have to sell them on this. This is the best thing. Because, as I said, we were just been reading with our kids. Philadelphia is the poorest big city in the country, believe it or not. Wow. And so I practiced in West Philadelphia, and the libraries were closed. The children had no, the books. The school system here is it's improved, but back then, and I was a product of it, I will tell you, I went to Philadelphia schools, was not ideal. And so when I heard about this, I said, oh my gosh, this is a no-brainer. This is what we have to do. And we actually had our national medical director, Dr. Perry Klass, came down at that point, she was at Boston, and came down and trained our pediatricians on the model, because we want to make sure we stay true to the quality of the program, the quality of the books, the diversity of the books, quality of what the interactions about. So that she came down and trained us. And we, in the city of Philadelphia, have given over the 28 years, millions of books to kids, which, I'm so proud of that, because that is empowering. And that message, I can tell you, has stuck with our families. With my own families, we talk about, I'm sure you do with your kids, we talk about who read that book and why and what the story was about. My children are in their 30s now, and we still have those conversations, and we're now replicating that with my grandchildren. And for the families that I've taken care of over many years who are now grown, I see, many of them here in the hospital. Inevitably somebody will tell me, Dr. Haecker, I remember that book you gave me. Is that an amazing opportunity to have these children become successful adults? I have a small part, not only in keeping them healthy and medically good and taking care of their developmental issues, but I'm also playing a part with that parent to ensure that child's later success. And what an honor it is for us as pediatricians to be part of people's lives. It starts at birth and goes from there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was so happy to have Marty on to find out about Reach Out and Read, because I think it's so important. It's so vitally necessary. I think, we talk about the country is divided right now, and there certainly is a lot of division, and hopefully we can get a vaccine to solve that problem. But I think one of the ways that we can inoculate ourselves and our kids from that hate and division is by reading with them, helping them understand that people have different perspectives, and they see things in different ways. And just because somebody sees something different than you doesn't mean that they're wrong or that they're a terrible person, and you can agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what new things are Reach Out and Read involved in right now?
Well, so the board is really excited. We've just developed a strategic plan, and our goal is by 2030 to reach 50% of children 5 and under. Because again, the program is focused on children under 5, and that is the key of our program. And so as a result, we are looking to get to 10 million children, so that 10 million children get books at their checkups by 2030. It's a huge task, but we already serve about 4.5 million children, and we'll need to continue to grow the program, both from an infrastructure standpoint, as well as from a funding standpoint. And we're looking for all kinds of ways to be able to do that. Reach Out and Read is a philanthropic organization, a nonprofit. And we have partnerships with our publishers to get our books at very reasonable costs, but we need to figure out how to embed this into pediatric well-child care so that every child, will get half the children by 2030 and maybe by 2040 or 2050, all children in America will get a book at every checkup when they come to see their physician and their caregiver, the nurse practitioner, the PA, whoever's taking care of them. And that's our goal. We have a lot to work on for sure. One is to make sure that we have the DEI message, as I said, that's very important to us. Look for funding, whether that's health systems, government, insurers, Medicaid. We're looking at all those opportunities. Foundations have been very supportive of us, and our partnerships with the publishers have been incredible. This year we have 35 for 35, so one Scholastic has been so kind to support us in that. So we have 35 new diverse titles that they've created at a very affordable price for the 35th anniversary. So this year's our 35th anniversary. So it's kind of a turning point for us. Brand visibility. So many people, we've given out 7 million books, but many people still don't know what Reach Out and Read is. Mm-hmm. So the board is committed to improving brand visibility so they know who we are so that they can continue to see the incredible strength of the program as well. And then also to work with our communities. That's the other thing we want to keep doing is partnering with other early childhood centers and communities, spreading the message of how important is early literacy, early reading, playing, singing, reading to your child is so incredibly important. So those are some of the things that we're working on through our strategic plan.
That's super. How can we help?
Well, I would say your listeners, if they are interested in supporting us, we'd love to have them get to our Reach Out and Read website. We would love to have them be a part of donating or volunteering to be a reader in some of our exam rooms, to be able to, if they're offices or practitioners or family practitioner, pediatric offices, let us know. Sign up to become a Reach Out and Read site because we need to spread this message. This is incredibly important. And we are the only official early literacy program that the American Academy of Pediatrics. I was past president of our Pennsylvania chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, which is sort of the professional organization, has 67,000 pediatricians and sets all the policies and all the recommendations that the government, that we use as clinicians. And they have embraced Reach Out and Read as the most important early literacy program, the only one, in fact, that they recommend for their pediatricians in their offices and across the nation. And there'll be a new policy statement coming out, hopefully within the next 6 months. That's how pediatricians get educated. And so we have policy statements on many things. And this one is very exciting because we'll have an ability to talk a little bit about the evidence, the importance of it, and the importance of sort of getting this as a standard of care. Vaccines, weighing and measuring. You remember from your children when we went to the doctor's office, we get weighed and measured. We talk about safety. We talk about development. We talk about everything. But now we want to add Reach Out and Read, particularly now when children are struggling so much that there's not a lot of early child care centers. High quality is what we need. As early care for everybody is what we're all interested in. And how do we do that when we need to get Reach Out and Read in every doctor's office that sees children? That's in every NP's office, in every clinic's office, whether it's the Indian Health Service in the far west or here in West Philadelphia in our urban clinics. So that is the goal of the board.
Well, I am certainly hoping that you reach that goal. Just another question. I know you're a pediatrician, but one of the things that I say to my friends who have kids and to the listeners of this show, yes, there's all sorts of benefits for your kids when you read to them. That bonding is wonderful. But I get a feeling, and you correct me if I'm wrong, doctor, that the parents who sit down and take that 20 minutes a day to sit down and read with their kids, there's something good happening in their minds and their bodies too.
Correct. You're absolutely right. That symbiosis that occurs between reading, calming down, turning that phone off, which we haven't even talked about because the whole burgeoning. I mean, when we started the program 35 years ago, cell phones didn't exist. And now we're not only competing with, all the media issues, but the cell phones for young children. And so we really now have to talk to parents about turn that phone off, spend the time, bond with your child, because that reciprocity, I guess is the word I'm looking for, between a child, helps me as a grandparent, helped me as a parent, helped you, and helps every parent, because you can slow down and you're really paying attention to your child, and the child's responding to you. And we know that outcome that comes from those 20 minutes, as you said, every day of reading with the kid, talking about things, makes a huge difference later on. So it's as rewarding for me as it is for that child and for my parents and for the bond that we have together, taking care of this child. It's, as pediatricians, we're very honored to have families let us into their lives. I mean, it's very different taking care of an adult. I couldn't do adult medicine, but I love seeing kids, and that's an honor that we all have as people who take care of young children. We're so lucky that we can have that ability to meet with families and deal with them when that brain is burgeoning. It's just an amazing opportunity.
Yeah. We are big supporters of Reach Out and Read. We want everybody to check out the website. Can you remind us the website again?
Reach Out and Read, www.reachoutandread.org. It's an amazing website. It has all kinds of tips for parents, has all kinds of abilities to show you about the types of books you might want to buy and read to your children, and also the ability to donate to our cause. And so we'd love to have people donate and consider thinking of us as a charity that they would like to support. And regionally, you can do that because each affiliate is listed. So if you live in Iowa, you can donate to Reach Out and Read Iowa. If you live in Philadelphia, you can donate to Reach Out and Read Greater Philadelphia. We are in 50 states, and we have a website that includes every one of our sites. And so even if you'd like to donate to a particular site, you can do that as well.
We love it. It's so important. 10 million kids, the goal, 10 million kids by
2030. Yes. 6 more years. We've got 6 more years. We're going from 4.4 to 10 million. So we've got to do this. We need everyone's support. And this is the most important work that our children are our future. That's a cliche, but it's absolutely true. And the ability to make a difference in a child's life is phenomenal. And so we're, very appreciative of anyone's support.
And would it be okay for a parent to go into a pediatrician's office that's not part of Reach Out and Read and say, yo, doc, how about this? Check this website.
Absolutely. Please do, because that's another way to spread this. We would love for families to have the groundswell, childcare facilities as well. I told their parents to say, aren't your pediatricians and your family doctors and your nurse practitioners part of a Reach Out and Read program? So yeah, we need everyone working together to make this happen.
We've had a really wonderful time speaking to the chairperson of Reach Out and Read, talking to us about reaching 10 million kids by 2030. Our guest has been Dr. Trude Haecker. Dr. Trude, thank you so very much for the work you do, and thank you for being on our show.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Hey there, families! Are you looking for an exciting way to bond and learn together? Look no further than our STEM is Family Fun video series. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of STEM through hands-on activities right in your own home. Our series features lessons from experts at renowned institutions like the San Diego Children's Discovery Museum, the National Children's Museum in Washington, D.C., and Children's Museum Houston. From making homemade rainbow bridges to creating an oboe out of a straw, there's something for everyone in the family to enjoy. So grab your lab coats and get ready for an adventure. Go to readingwithyourkids.com and click on the STEM is Family Fun link at the top of the page and let the learning and laughter begin. STEM is Family Fun, where learning and bonding go hand in hand. We are in for a treat. Joining us from Wisconsin, our guest is the author of the Exploring All I Can Do series. Please welcome to the show, Nia, the author. Hey, Nia, how are you?
Hello, Jed. How are you?
I am wonderful. Nia and I met at the Indie Author Summit out in Kansas City. What a great time that was.
Yes, and the weather was perfect, too.
It really was. It really was. And And the event happened at the Intercontinental Hotel, and across the river, the creek, I guess it was this little development, like a fancy shopping area.
Yeah.
And my wife and I were walking, and she's like, "I've never been to Kansas City before, but this feels so familiar." And she's looking around, and I said, "Oh, look, they have the flag of Spain here in the center of town." And she goes, "Yes, this looks like Seville when I was at Seville last year."
Wow.
And then we found out that was indeed a replica. The people who developed that area did it intentionally because they loved Seville so much.
How coincident! What a coincidence that is. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, that was a super cool area, but I have a feeling that your series is pretty super cool too. Tell us about it.
No problem. Well, thank you once again for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I am, as you mentioned and introduced, Nia, the author. And I didn't start this journey out thinking that I would be an author. So I am actually a triathlete. I like to swim, bike, and run. And in addition, I like to ski. So I've been skiing for like 20 years, and I've been a triathlete for 10 years. Wow. And I wanted to encourage my niece to swim, bike, and run just like her auntie. And I went to find a book, and I couldn't find one. I found one that had like a dog on the cover that was swim, bark, run. Nothing against dogs, nothing against the book. But I wanted my niece to kind of identify with the character, like if I'm going to give her a book, right? And so I didn't find one, and so I decided to write one. That was my first one. My first book, my triathlon book, that I wrote way back came out in 2020. I did a crowdfunder, believe it or not. It started off I was just going to write this book, and then I created it, and I was like, what do I do next? Like, am I just going to sell it to family and friends? And one of my friends was like, Nia, maybe you should do a Kickstarter. That'll kind of get your, reimburse you for the, cost of your illustrator, maybe get some print copies going. And so I was like, okay. So we set a goal for $5,000, and we raised 16.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm. So that was my proof of concept. I'm like, oh, people are interested in this sport and into this, and so I didn't have a series on deck, but since I'm a skier, gotta have a ski book. And so this is my niece on the cover of my Exploring All I Can Do triathlon book. And so I have 9 nieces and nephews. And so all of them now are on the covers of my books.
Awesome. So there'll be at least 9 books in the series.
Combination. So, I can do 2 in one book. So,
Okay.
So I've been doubling up to make sure I count for everybody.
Now, have you told your siblings, okay, no more kids?
Oh yeah, they're done. They're all done. They're all finished.
Now, as I understand it, this book is all about encouraging, especially kids of color, to get into sports that we don't necessarily associate with being popular in your community.
I would agree. So it's all about having that representation, being able to identify with a character in a book, right? And it's also about inclusion, so that others that are in the sport can also see that there may be interest, and maybe their friends that they may not have told them about it because of their color or something, So it's twofold. It's really about kind of having the reader identify and see themselves in the book, but also to kind of encourage inclusion in some of these sports.
Yeah. Well, that's why we love books so much, because they can be mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors. And
yes,
letting a kid like your niece see yourself like, yeah, I can do that. I could be a triathlete. And also letting the other kids who are triathleting, say, okay, yes, we want you to be here.
Absolutely. That is really my main goal. That's the whole reason I became an author. Look, and then the series was started, right?
Well, I think that's a pretty great reason to become an author.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. It's been a rough road. I mean, You don't get into this business to get rich, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it has been, as I had mentioned before, just some of the exposure for my books. I was just on the news for the Olympics, just talking about, you know, books of color that are reflecting some of the, you know, less popular sports. And so, but we're going to change that. You know, you never know, what, reader of mine will be the next Olympian. You never know.
Oh, you never. And you were sharing with me before we started recording that your hockey book is featured on the NHL website, and your triathlon book is featured on their website.
On the U.S. Triathlon's website. Yeah. So, yep, if you did a search, you'd be able to, if you go to the National Hockey League's website and you did, you know, Mia the author or Exploring All I Can Do Hockey, you'll see the feature on there, which is kind of cool, right? My illustrator is an illustrator out of West Africa. She's never seen a hockey game in her life, you know, and so the illustrations are very vivid and bright, and she just really did a great job. And my hope is that one day we can get her to a hockey game, you know, to see hockey in person. But in fact, actually, last year, my dad, who's like in his 70s, I took him to his first hockey game, and he really, really enjoyed it. Like, we all had a blast. It was such a fun time.
Yeah. I was sharing with Nia before we started that my niece fell in love with hockey, and I wanted to take her to her first game, and I looked at the Boston Bruins, and I thought, oh, I can do that. And then I looked and saw how much the tickets cost, and I said, oh no, I can't do that. But the Bruins farm team, the baby Bruins they called, play in Providence, which is just, I live in the city of Boston. I can drive to Providence quicker than I can drive to downtown Boston.
Wow.
And for the same price of one ticket for the big bees, I could buy 2 season tickets for the baby bees.
Shut up.
That's what we did. Oh, Nia, it costs $60 to park your car.
I know.
Boston Garden. It's like,
I know.
crazy. It's crazy. We go down to Providence and we get the game. We can buy a T-shirt. We can buy something to eat, a program, and I still have money in my wallet.
Right. Well, what's funny is, here in Milwaukee, we have the Admirals. And so they were playing a team from Chicago. Please do not. But it was a team from Chicago. Obviously the Admirals are not, your National League hockey team, right? And so my dad thought they were going to be playing the Blackhawks. And I had to tell him, I was like, sorry, Dad. That's not the team we're going to go to. But he had fun regardless. So we're going to try to get him to a Blackhawks game. We'll see. Okay. Well, like I said, hopefully, like you said, the price of tickets can be.
Yes. But it's crazy. So you have a book about hockey, a book about triathlon.
Yes.
I also see behind you, there's a book about fencing.
Yes. So my I have 5 books. So as you mentioned, Exploring All I Can Do Hockey, Exploring All I Can Do Triathlon, and then Exploring All I Can Do Fencing, Exploring All I Can Do Ski and Snowboarding. And then this fall I'll have Exploring All I Can Do Archery. And yes, that fencing one back in the back. Oh, that is an adorable book. It's about, a young, daughter or a girl who is trying to convince her brother to, not fall to peer pressure and to try fencing. And so, a really great illustrator as well. The illustrations are like adorable in this book. In addition, I took up some fencing classes. So it's pre-pandemic. I had started, getting thoughts about, doing, fencing, and I'd always loved watching the sport in the Olympics, and so I wrote the book, and then it was like, oh, I might want to try it. And so in doing that research, found out there is a local club that offers fencing classes, and so this spring I actually took a fencing class, and they had me in full gear, Jed, on the first day.
I would hope so. I wouldn't go near that beekeeper suit.
Right.
How did you like it?
I did. I really liked it. It is definitely a workout, to say the least. You know, I consider it as like chest on your feet, because you're trying to, you know, you have a opponent who's trying to also kind of get points by touching certain areas, right, with the sword. And so it's like chess, you know, they move and then you make a move. Now you don't have specific pieces, but you definitely have different areas based on, what, you know, if you have a saber or whatever you have. So yeah, I like it. It's different.
Yeah. I like how you said touching the opponent. I always thought of it as stabbing the opponent, you know.
Oh, well, it has a tip on the top, on the end of it. So it's not sharp at all. You know, the idea is that you're making contact in these particular areas based on that sword. And so if it's a particular sword, maybe the torso, maybe it's just the full upper body. And then you get the points by making that contact with the person. You're not like actually stabbing them to try to draw blood or anything. But
so
it's pretty fun.
You're saying your series is talking to kids and to get them interested in sports that kids of color typically or traditionally haven't been interested in or participated in. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that these sports, has there been a barrier? Have there been gatekeepers saying, no, you can't play this sport? Or are there other factors?
I think it's a combination of things. You know, I've been a skier for 20 years and I've skied all around the world. I've skied in Switzerland, Italy, Japan, Dubai, all over the world. And
wait a minute. I'm sorry. I don't like to interrupt my guests, but you just said something that doesn't make sense to me. You said you went skiing in Dubai.
Yes.
I don't know of any snow in Dubai.
Dubai has a slope in their mall.
Oh.
Yes, believe it or not, they have a ski slope with a lift. You get on a lift with skis in the mall. It is insane. Yes.
I can just hit. I'd like to be a fly in the wall with that, you know, this.
Like who, the concept?
Yeah, yes. Hey, what do you want in the mall? A food court. Okay, great. And, strollers. Yep. Let's, a ski slope.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Pretty impressive. Impressive.
I guess. So I interrupted you, so I apologize.
No worries.
All over the world.
Yes, but you know, I think there's something comforting when you see a person that looks like you doing the same activity as you, right? Sure. And so, there's something comforting about that. And so it allows you to, you know, like seeing someone that looks like you. And so I think a part of the discussion or the challenge too is, you know, one, you know, you don't have, like, my parents weren't skiers. I've done marathons. They were marathoners, you know. I did a ride with my dad. My dad is actually a cyclist and we do cycling vacations. And so this is a good example. And so, we did a ride that took us from Selma to Montgomery. We were doing the same route that the marchers took to Montgomery. And, he and I did the ride together. And, it was very profound because if you think about it, my dad never would have been able to take that ride with his dad, right? They never would have been able to kind of be and we were like, actually, like, part of the ride is on the highway, and you would go to different sites where, like, either marchers or, you know, someone may have been killed in, you know, different spots along the way. So you just can just understand the significance of it, right? But just the thought that my dad, as a young person, like my age, he wouldn't have been able to do this with his dad, and his dad wouldn't have been able to, like, cycle like that with his dad. And so you have, you know, that generation of, not being exposed and not doing activities like this, right? And so now you have a ability to kind of do those things together. And so my nieces and my dad's grandchildren are all now exposed to a wide variety of things. And so that's my whole series, exploring all you can do, because it's not just limited to football or basketball, or you may have thought that to be the case. And to be honest, as a skier, you always get the stigma because you're a person of color. Like, do people of color do that? And so you get it on both ends, about having inclusion into being invited. And then also that what people look like me, not being so certain about trying different activities. So exploring all I can do. Let's explore all of these wonderful sports and activities that are amazing and pretty cool.
I love that you use the word invited, because I think that this would be, obviously this would be a great series to inspire kids of color. Mm-hmm. But I also think this would be a great series. We would have bought this series for our kids when they were younger, because we definitely wanted them to be the kids who would invite people who weren't traditionally included.
Yes. Yes. And that invitation could mean the world, right? Just having, I talk about, seeing someone like you, but just even having a friend that's interested into the sport, your best friend who's just like, all right, well, I'll just come try it. And you never know, when you try something, if you like it until you try it. And so, yes, I think having that invitation to that friend that to like, come check this out. This is really cool. It is someplace safe, like you never know. So having that person, that kind of invites you into, a sport or a different sport or a different opportunity, it always kind of eases you a little, right?
So tell me, how did you get into skiing because you were invited, or because you kicked down the door and said, I want to do this?
Well, at post-college, my college friends, had heard about this, like, such a fun gathering that would happen in Canada, and they lived in Michigan at the time. And so they would talk about, these fun parties, people of color getting together and partying on the ski slope. And I was like, oh, I'm interested. Wait, tell me more. And so I would drive up from Wisconsin, then from Michigan, and then to Canada. We all kind of drove up together. And so the challenge though was, there was a misconception that you could just put some skis on and like get out on the hill. And so we had left later, and we got there late and thought, all right, we're just gonna, get out on this hill and try to ski. And we had friends who had been out there all day, and they were like, we're just going to go to the next hill. Mind you, we hadn't even mastered the bunny hill yet. They were like, let's go to the next hill. And we were like, okay. And we got on a lift chair, which is insane.
I was going to say, that's a job in itself.
Got up to this hill, and like everyone was like looking, like you couldn't even see the bottom of this hill. That's how kind of steep and crazy it was. Uh-huh. And we were all like up there like, what in the world did we just do? Like, how do you even get, like one of my friends actually started walking down, and I was like, I'm going first because I see all of y'all falling down this hill, and I'm not going to be trying to avoid you. So I just like went down the hill. But since then, my advice to anyone who wants to get into skiing or skis is to take a lesson. So all the places that I've talked about of where I've went all around the world, I always take a lesson, and it's so helpful. It helps to fine tune your skills, especially if you're not skiing regularly. It's really so helpful. So I would tell people, skiing is not something you should just get on the hill and try. You could, yes. But take a lesson, get some pointers of how to stop and how to control your speed and all of that. It makes it a better experience.
Yeah. You're talking about a lesson. Some people are like, oh, I need to know it all. I took a lesson when I skied. I haven't skied for a long time. But just one piece of advice. The teacher said, just keep your keep your shoulders square to the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, just turn the bottom part of my hips and my just, and oh, what a difference it made.
It
Oh.
does. Having that little bit of knowledge, right? It just makes that experience so much better. Like it's funny, like things like skiing, people often tell me stories of how, we just went up on the hill, no lesson. I don't want to try it again. Or even like swimming, the same thing. Like people have these stories of like, someone just threw me in the pool. That is not the way to learn how to swim. There are some techniques that make you better that are helpful. And so I am definitely a big proponent of kind of learning some techniques, getting that advice, particularly with skiing. Maybe other sports like running, it's not as bad. You just get your shoes out and run. Or cycling, you wear your helmet. But, different things like skiing or even swimming, having those, like you said, Jed, like having that, those little tidbits really help you, and that's good advice as well. Cause when you think about it, if you don't have a friend that knows that, or you don't have family that skis, you miss that passing of knowledge, that may not have been a good experience for you to come back, or your friend told you about it because they didn't have,
Right.
And so that kind of perpetuates the fact that, you may not try it again or enjoy it. And so we want to find ways for people to enjoy the sport, or, explore more,
Absolutely. Hey, not that you asked me for advice, but I've given some authors some advice here on the podcast when it pops into my head, and it really worked out for them. I think a book about you and your dad's ride from Selma to Montgomery would be huge.
Aww.
Because what a beautiful way to tell that story,
Mm-hmm.
and to help kids, help kids kind of relive history through a different, just from a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a thought. I like that idea. Look,
All right. Well, here's
I haven't
another
thought
good
about one like that. Yes.
Yeah. And
outside of the children's book. Yeah.
And then your dad can be on the cover of that
Oh, yes. He would like that.
Yes.
He would definitely like that. He gets an appearance in my fencing book as the granddad helping the grandson. I mean, I'm sorry, I apologize, in my archery book as the grandfather who is exposing and sharing his love of archery with his grandson. So he gets an appearance. He doesn't get a cover. But I like that idea.
Excellent. You know what would be another good idea is if we told everybody right now where they can go to find out more about the Exploring All I Can Do series and find out more about Nia, the author.
Yes. You can find all of my books at my website at www.niatheauthor.com. And I am on all social platforms as Nia the Author, Instagram, Facebook, all of that, TikTok. So please join me in this journey as I share my books with the world, and you can explore all you can do.
Awesome. And Nia has a great website, lots and lots of color.
Thank you.
Check it out. So.
Thank you.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of the Exploring All I Can Do series. Our guest has been Nia, the author. Thanks, Nia, for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Jed. Nice talking to you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. We'd love for you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, @readingwithyourkids on Instagram, and @JedleyMagic on Twitter. Hey, we'd love for you also to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. You can find all of our Drawing with Your Kids and our STEM is Family Fun videos on our YouTube channel. In fact, we'd love for you to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to the show, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio app, Podcast Addict, Good Pods, CastBox, Player FM, Boomplay, Ghana. Amazon Music, Audible. We really would appreciate it if you could subscribe to the show. And also if you could leave a 5-star review. That really helps people find the show. It tells the algorithm that people are loving the show, and then that algorithm introduces new people to the show. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we want to start by thanking our guest, Dr. Trude Haecker. Please be sure to check out Reach Out and Read. I love this organization. I love what they're doing. Also want to thank Nia, the author. How much fun was she? Please be sure to check out her Exploring All I Can Do series. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Rory Grady, Rayling Tang. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.